Hey, this is Mark Dudley. This is a case study for a good teacher gone bad for EDL 851, Module 13. All right, for the problem ID and analysis, here's what we know. Ms. Horton is a veteran and celebrated teacher. She is the former teacher of the year for her district. As a veteran teacher, first grade teacher, her behavior has shown that she is very caring for her students, very prepared, very willing to come and work extra. However, her behavior has changed. She no longer comes and works extra. She has been seen and heard that she has had issues with staff, starting to have confrontations and not being as nice as she used to be. Miss Wilson, who is the principal, has had several run-ins or red flags with her. The first would be her issues with staff, where she's been irritable and not working with them as well. The second red flag was the change in curriculum that Miss Horton was not in support of, and lashed out at those who were. And this problem was now that parents are now complaining about Miss Horton and how she is acting in class towards her students. And as I said, Miss Wilson is the principal for this school. What I need to know. I need to know if there has been evidence of Miss Horton's actions seen in class. It mentions that Miss Wilson had been in her room. I didn't know if there had been any occurrences, anything that was written down about this behavior change for her. We need to know what has caused this behavior change. Why has Miss Horton drastically changed her behavior? There's rumor of issues at home, but we really need to, sit down and have a conversation saying what is really the issue. And then, as an administrator, I would need to know the policies for dealing with teachers that have discipline issues. Is there certain protocol that we need to go through before we dismiss a teacher, suspend a teacher? And again, has there been any type of documentation of this behavior change? Because if a lot of times you have to have evidence to support any type of change, whether it's just a suspension, whether it's a change in action, whether it's putting them on a plan to rehabilitate, whether it's any of that kind of stuff, we got to have evidence. I want to know, is there evidence there to support these changes that are going to happen? And then what is the problem? Obviously, Miss Horton, her actions in class are now causing stress where her students don't want to come to school, and now parents are calling and writing to the school to complain about this. And the other issue is that Miss Wilson has observed some of these behavior changes, and she's ignored the warning signs and really has failed to inject herself in the situation to try to squelch the problem when it was very small. Now more and more people are involved, parents are involved, and we're causing students not to want to come to school. So it's become a really big issue. Proposed plan of action. What I would do is I would excuse Miss Horton from her teaching position for a week. I would call it a suspension, call it time away, whatever I needed to call it to kind of get her away from the students. And that way, during that week that she's gone, I would set up meetings with her at the district office so that she would not have to come to school, and that would not be a distraction to others. And we'd put a plan in place for her return. In this meeting, obviously, I would get HR involved, but also so that she can speak to me and tell me what's really wrong. Because at the end of the day, she's been a great teacher. I want to show support for her. It could be something very wrong that she needs to deal with, that we can get counselors involved. I want to show her support and get her the help that she needs without flying off the handle and just dismissing her from her position. Along with dismissing her, obviously we get a sub in place for the week that she's out. Also hire or assign a full-time aide to this position. So not only would that person be there when Ms. Horton came back, but she would be there with the sub to give those students more support. And being a first grade class, I want to give that person as much help as possible so that students can get back on track, get things back to normal, and be in a very safe and supportive classroom experience. Along with this plan, assuming that Ms. Horton wanted to change, assuming that she wanted to keep her job, we would put a plan in place for her to follow. And if for some reason that she either chose not to follow or did not want to follow these guidelines, or her behavior didn't change and these guidelines were not being met, then obviously the next step would be either reassigning her throughout the district, and I let the district office handle that, or just excuse her or fire her from her position for good. And then once I had a solid plan in place with Ms. Horton, I felt supported by the district office, definitely communicate the plan of action to parents and make them feel that we are on top of the situation, that their students' education is a top priority, and make sure that they feel like their complaints have been heard. As far as resolving the issue, again, after putting the plan of action in place, first thing is communicate with the parents and the students. Let the students know that they are to be in a very engaging educational environment. We want them to come to school. We want them to want to come to school, and just let them know that they are safe and that we're going to make the educational process as easy and everything that they'll need it to be. Along with the guidelines, make sure that there are weekly observations and meetings in place with Ms. Horton. Again, once we find out the root of the issue, find ways to support her outside stresses, and then make sure that the students are supportive. If there's anyone that still has feelings for not wanting to come to school, make sure we get them supported and make sure that they feel safe, they feel supportive in coming to the school every day. Some of the things that I'm thinking about, obviously, I think it's really sad that the warning signs were ignored with this problem. I felt like Ms. Wilson really should have taken a bigger role in this, and that she should have kind of engaged this process much quicker, and we would not have had the issue that we had with the parents. This was obviously an issue that had been going on for 2 school years, or part of 2 school years, and it was ignored. I think that really a shame that didn't get involved. Just want to make sure that students that are coming to my school feel like they want to be there. We want them to be there, and that they're supportive. No one should come to school dreading to see anyone, whether it's another student or a teacher. And so I really want to make sure that those students have what they need to make they feel welcome in the school building. And then also just want to help Ms. Horton. She's a decorated teacher. She knows what she's doing. She's very seasoned. We don't want to lose a teacher like her because of some outside stress. So how can we support her? And then valuing just being able to have a stable educational environment. So much goes on for these students, so much goes on for our teachers, that when they come to school, we want them to be stable, we want them to feel safe, we want them to feel welcome, we want them to feel like they are in a stable environment, and that there's really no stress or concerns there. They don't have to worry about these outside stresses. And so I just value that educational environment. As far as reflecting on this, I think that both of these parties could really value from a mentor relationship. Obviously, Ms. Wilson as the principal, she needs someone help on how to be a little bit more assertive, how to interject herself to stop problems from escalating. And then obviously Ms. Horton, she needs some mentorship or some companionship outside to help deal with outside stresses. Because we all are going to have things happen in life, and when we're in the school building, we need to be professional. We need to be able to put aside those issues and do our job and make sure our students are getting everything they need out of us. And I think that comes down to just promoting academic success. our number one concern for our students is they get everything out of our educational environment as possible. So these students need to make sure they're back on track. They need to make sure that they're getting everything they need to complete the first grade and be prepared for second and third grade and beyond. And again, we need to all feel safe, and we all need to feel welcome. And again, we need to make sure we promote the well-being of all our students, and including our staff. The biggest thing is that these students that were affected by this situation, they need to resolve that so there's no issues later on where they feel threatened or feel worried about coming to school. And then we need to get this classroom back to basics as soon as possible. Ms. Horton's responsibility to come to the classroom is to embrace this new reading curriculum, get on board with what the school is doing, and make sure that she aligns her expectations with the school. And if she feels like she can't do that, then we need to remove her from the classroom altogether. Thank you for listening.